It's been abused because where you have situations where sole sourcing is adhered to, when it doesn't fall within the very restricted, limited circumstances within which sole sourcing should be restricted to, where there's no emergency, where you have enough time, and yes, public officers go along the line of sole sourcing for the reasons we all know, which I shouldn't say here. Restricted tender, Mr. Speaker. There have been situations, and let's call a spade, let's be blunt on this matter. There are situations where in the public sector of our country, we say restrictive tender, and the restrictive tender is contrived where whoever wins, whichever of the two or three companies win the bid, the beneficiary becomes the same person with a veil. Mr. Speaker, this is a fact. Let's agree that these are the problems with our public procurement in our country. And so the point that the Honorable Dominic Nittewol has made, Mr. Speaker, don't let us interrogate that point from a partisan lens. Let us interrogate it objectively and interrogate it as a house and have a bipartisan interrogation of the point he has made, which is that if this value for money or bill, if this is actually intended to ensure that the state or the republic and its citizens get true value when we go through sole or restrictive tender, we then will have this new arrangement for value for money. Mr. Speaker, should we have sole sourcing and restrictive tender in the first place? If we truly want to have value for money, should we not, as a country, and I see that my good friend, the Minister for Finance, the Deputy Minister for Finance, is listening with rapt attention. Mr. Speaker, should we not have a situation where for every tender or every procurement, it is open, public, transparent, competitive tender? Let's find a way of answering that question, Mr. Speaker. Let's find a way of answering that question. Mr. Speaker, the danger and the risk we may have with this kind of arrangement, Mr. Speaker, is that we're going to build up another layer of bureaucracy, which is why I made the effort to take us through the historical antecedent of attempts by governments after government in sanitizing the public procurement of our country and ensuring value for money. I want to conclude on this point. Look, let's all accept it, and this is not an MPP matter or an NDC matter. One of the biggest problems our country has is procurement, and I'm fully convinced about it, having had the privilege of being in government for 8 years. One of the biggest problems our country has is procurement. We procure what we don't need because it probably stands to benefit the public official or officials who are engaged in the procurement. We sometimes procure what we don't need. We have excess procurement when we don't have to. When we have to procure particular items which will serve the public good, we will not, because that may not benefit one public official or the other. Sole sourcing is abused, and it's a fact, it's abused. It was abused in the first NDC government, it's abused in the MPP government, it's been abused in this government. Restricted tender is being abused, and Mr. Speaker, in some cases, it's not even abused by politicians. That is always a mistake we make. It's not abused by ministers, deputy ministers, and so on and so forth. Sometimes it's abused by public officers of all kinds. And so, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Minister, Honorable Minister, if you truly want to sanitize the public procurement space of our country, look, another bureaucracy, another passing of a bill, another act, I can assure you, will not be the sine qua non to sanitize the public procurement space of our country. If as a country we've come to the conclusion that sole sourcing and restrictive tender is not helping us and is being abused, let us abolish it, and for every procurement, let's have an open, transparent, public, competitive tender. That may be the way to go, and that should be the matter we should be discussing here. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, you presented the committee's report.
But Mr. Speaker, I just want to provide some information. I presented the report. There's nowhere in the report that sole source is stated. And they are trying to import a foreign issues into my own report. Please, if you want to talk about sole source, go and generate another report. In this report, we did not mention sole source. Don't import any foreign material into my report, please. We want to cure mischief.
But
the PPA system is not working.
The Hansard has
and we want to
captured
address the situation.
Honorable Richard Achampong. The Hansard has captured the entire report. Hansard to
so we should allow them to import foreign information into my report.
Yes. Leader.
The opportunity, Mr. Speaker, our side participated in deliberations of the committee. Speaker, for the records, it is our case that when the draft report was ready, our side did not get the opportunity to peruse the draft. Mr. Speaker, to peruse the draft. Mr. Speaker, specifically the ranking and deputy ranking of the Committee on Finance did not have the opportunity to peruse the draft to state the minority's position. Mr. Speaker, we don't want to set a certain precedent. The chair of the committee, who is himself a leadership, knows the protocols, that the committee is not a one-sided committee. It is made up of two sides of the House, and when the clerk of the committee generates the report, same is perused by both parties, leadership of the committee, the chair and the ranking. Then, once they agree and the respective leaders put in the views of their caucus, the final report is generated. That is the practice. Mr. Speaker, it is the case of the minority. It is a case of the minority that the report be amended to it is the case of the minority that the committee's report, as contained in paragraph 9, page 7, be amended to reflect majority decision, not a consensus. It is a report by majority decision. Mr. Speaker, that said, we, the minority, would want to state why we are against this bill. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the memorandum of the bill, the memorandum reads at paragraph 3.
Yes, minority leader,
quote,
just hold your peace. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, the procedure just enunciated by the minority leader at committee levels is inaccurate. Now, at committee levels, the position of the caucus is stated before a report is generated. You don't state your position after a report is generated and approved. So if you are doing this as an afterthought, you will say this, that upon hindsight, you are deciding to go against the terms of the report. Don't come and say that It is the leaders who generate the views of the caucuses. That is not the procedure. The procedure is that every member of the committee will state his or her position. It is then conveyed and communicated in the report. So if a caucus in a committee decides that they will have a minority position, it is stated before the clerk takes that to constitute the report. So please, minority leader,
Honorable
let's let the records reflect
Majority
that.
Chief Whip, before the minority leader will come in, you are right. You are right in the sense that per our rules, there is nothing like caucus decision in our committee meetings. We have minority and majority. The members present at the committee meeting will take decision on the report, and it is the outcome that is communicated to the plenary. It is possible that somebody belongs to a ruling government, but at the committee level will be in minority. It is possible you belong to the opposition government, but at the committee level you will be in a majority, depending upon the way the decision is taken. So to say that the committee report must reflect the caucus position, I beg to differ. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the minority on the committee expressed their opposition to the bill and its report, and indicated that clearly that the decision be by majority decision because the minority were opposed to it. Mr. Speaker, that is why when the final draft of the report was ready, the ranking member indicated to me that he did not get the opportunity to peruse it to ensure that same reflected in the final report. I am here as a leader of a group of members on the committee who are in minority, and it is the instructions that I am carrying out in this chamber.
Your position that you have stated
Mr.
that I have a
Speaker, you may
problem
disagree. Let me make my
with
argument.
is that
Mr.
the
Speaker, can I make my
position,
argument?
caucus position.
Mr. Speaker, if I have brought clarity, so let me make my argument. Mr. Presiding Officer, let me make my argument. Mr. Speaker, the minority opposition in this bill, on this bill and this report, is not a lame opposition. It is well founded on law and in fact. Mr. Speaker, first, if you read paragraph 3 of the memorandum accompanying the bill, this is what the memorandum accompanying the bill says. With your leave, I quote, globally, countries such as the United Kingdom, Canada, Singapore, Slovakia, and the United States have established statutory frameworks such as the National Audit Office of the United Kingdom, the Value for Money Audit Manual of Canada, and the United States Government Accountability Office to ensure the optimal use of public funds. The adoption by Ghana of a similar framework will align with global best practices and strengthen the public financial management architecture of the country. End quote. Mr. Speaker, if this is indeed the intention of government, then it is important that this side of the house make certain disclosures to government. One, the institutions that you have mentioned as your reference point, if you look at their governance architecture, they are not politically controlled. So the kind of alignment you are talking about does not find expression in the very bill you are bringing. So don't confuse us by telling us that, yes, you want to comply with best practices globally, but in adopting it, you go on a path that would rather expose this country. Honorable Nitiwo made an elaborate submission on why this bill will rather promote corruption. Mr. Speaker, and I will take you through the clauses. First of all, Mr. Speaker, if you go to clause 4 of the bill, clause 4, Mr. Speaker, clause 4 deals with appointment, governing office, governing body of the office. The governing body of the office is a board consisting of chairperson nominated by minister. By the minister, the very thing you want to cure, the minister would have his alter ego. Alter ego. Who doesn't know that before a minister makes an appointment, he would first look at loyalty to him? Not only competence, loyalty. Ab initio, are you creating an independent body? That is why we are telling you that, look, you have the Public Financial Management Act, you have the PPA Act itself, and then the internal organizations that we have in public institutions allow for some level of value for audit. And where it is required that certain level of procurement are to be undertaken, external value for money institutions that are independent are relied upon. Why don't we look at this and strengthen where we think there are loopholes? You are creating another bureaucracy, which is government controlled, Mr. Speaker. The next person is a representative of the Attorney General of the same government, a lawyer from the legal directorate of the ministry nominated by the minister. One expert in gender equity nominated by the minister. Mr. Speaker, then you have the Ministry of Finance, a director to be nominated again by the minister. Mr. Speaker, the net effect is that the same problem that the government wants to cure would rather become complicated. There will be no cure. The outcome will be otious. It will be otious. Because, Mr. Speaker, you are planting something or nothing. You are going nowhere. How can you say that you need an enactment with a whole bureaucracy, with another budget, and then the minister is controlling? Who said that the minister cannot call the chairman and tell the chairman that, look, this thing is coming, so deal with it? Mr. Speaker, it is probable, not possible, because all those in charge are controlled by the minister. Mr. Speaker, when we talk as minority, we are not just shouting or we are not just opposing. We are telling our colleagues that watch the space. We don't need this law. The Public Financial Management Act provides for certain stringent measures. It was your own law you brought in 2015, 2016. I was a young member of parliament on the finance committee, and we passed that law for you. It is there. Mr. Speaker, it is there. Why would you now come and create another bureaucracy for what the ordinary man on the street will call chop chop? Why would you create another bureaucracy that the ordinary man on the street will call yenchendi? Mr. Speaker, as political leaders, we must be careful about the impression we create out there. I am all for this reset agenda, to the extent that, oh yes, to the extent that the reset will help create a better Ghana. Mr. Speaker, we don't have a perfect system, but so far with respect, I beg to submit that you are a walking contradiction. So far, I must submit that you are a walking contradiction. You have not lived to the promises that you made. Otherwise, why would you? We have a deputy chief of staff who has a company. Then Gold Board would award 11 million sole source contract to the, that's a typical example of your working contradiction. It's a matter of fact. I can furnish you with a document. It has not been denied. It's not coming from me.
So note your points.
It is not coming from me. I'm giving you an example that I'm saying that these are matters in the public domain. Gold Board says it published the contract on its own website. It's not Afenyo-Markin, where you will take me to privileges. This is not me. So if you are in a hurry to take me to privileges, this is not me. It's not me. Gold Board says that the contract, the 11 million contract it awarded on sole source, has been published on its own website. That is fact number one, not me. Two, the owner of the company has not come to deny. He wrote publicly and said, but my party is in power. Should my business not work? Should my company not work? He himself admitted. So nobody should carry any impression that Afenyo-Markin says. It is the facts. The prayers themselves are saying so. Jamie, me Nakasani. Afenyo-Markin is real. I'm a dench, I'm a care. I'm in Yeshka. They themselves said so. Ayoni, Mr. Speaker, they said that they did the business. To it, they have awarded a contract to themselves. They say everything was clean on sole source. And I'm saying that if the government is saying that it wants to cure sole source and ensure value for money, we don't need a new law. We don't need a new law. We have the PPA Act itself. In the PPA Act, when a document is submitted, PPA is required to do value for money. It's supposed to validate, verify, and do its own checks. So that in itself, a form of value for money. We government should rather strengthen PPA Act. After all, government brought an amendment to this house for the PPA law. We all supported the law. The finance minister, one of the first things he did, which I applauded him, was to do this amendment which required that there must be a pre-approval of contract, procurement. I've forgotten the name he called it. Commencement authorization. Mr. Speaker, I on this floor praise the finance minister for doing that. It's not every day that we oppose our friends. On this floor, the public record will bear me out, that I praise the finance minister for introducing that commitment authorization policy. Because, Mr. Speaker, I was once upon a time a road fund board chair, and I knew the challenges and how I fought hard to save the public purse. And I thought we needed strong laws, strong policies. So, Mr. Speaker, once there is a reform, I will support it. Because as political leaders, Mr. Speaker, we don't have a positive impression out there, whether you are NDC or MPP. But let us take advantage once we are in office, whether in government or in opposition, to do proper reform. What we are seeking to do is rather to open the Pandora box. This law, if it is enacted, will rather be the right channel for corruption. This law will rather, Mr. Speaker, I know the minister means well by saying that let us model this. But, Mr. Speaker, the way it has been structured, it will not. Mr. Speaker, I've done some work. These institutions that he wants to follow their example, Mr. Speaker, these institutions do not have government appointees on them. Overseas, he should check it. The deputy minister is here. As we talk, members of parliament should just go on the internet, Google. The institutions that you are referring to
in other jurisdictions, they are not government controlled. They are not government controlled. So if you want to still use a political system under Article 70 and 195, I've read the law. You are saying that the appointment of the board will be in accordance with Article 70. I've read it. Colleague, I am not just opposing you. What you are doing is wrong. You are also talking about 195 of the Constitution. Why don't we allow the existing laws to operate, strengthen them, don't open this one up? Because if you open this one up, Mr. Speaker, there will be corruption. That said, the minority will not rubber stamp this bill. We will not. If the majority will not listen to these strong views and take same on board, and rather bring amendment of existing laws, and it wants to pursue the path of chop chop, as the ordinary man will say, we, the mighty few, the 87, we wash our hands. We will not be part of this unholy act that would rather expose the states and make the state vulnerable. Carry your burden alone. Mr. Speaker, I so submit on behalf of the minority.
It's now the turn of the majority. Yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, I have been on my feet for some time. The minority leader has said very dangerous things that must not be allowed to stay in our records against government. He has said emphatically, and he spoke Ghana. Speaker, the Ghana that he spoke, he refused to translate it. And the translation goes to this. He says that they are chopping. That the government, please, I listen to you in quietude. Yes, I was on my feet to protest the unwholesome things you were saying about government.
Well,
and they are in breach of Order 93.5. Mr. Speaker,
if indeed minority leader said things in Ghana, which, as a matter of fact, has not been translated into English, then I will consequentially direct that based on Standing Order 63. That is why I am saying that in the event that what you said has not been translated into English, then based on Standing Order 63, same should be expunged from the record.
Mr. Speaker, the danger of what the minority leader does is that because our proceedings are carried instantaneously